93, 93, 93. This is the Mon Asha Renew from AshaRenew.com. Tonight or this morning, I will speak on how to prepare yourself for the new world. Now, as everyone is clearly aware of, there are constantly changes occurring on a daily basis, whether you are on the Western Hemisphere or the Eastern Hemisphere. What's good, Dank Wizard? So, I thought I'd come on and give you guys some insight so you can properly place yourself exactly where you need to be. What's up, Tech Meds? What's good with you? So let's get right into it. What's up? Salam, X24. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. So this is how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna make this very simple. When it comes to the new world, when it comes to where we are going in the future, you have to identify what outer planet you resonate with the most. What I mean by what outer planet you resonate with the most, which outer planet do you embody in physical time? Let me give you an example of what I mean. We understand that we have three outer planets: Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Whenever we are dealing with the outer planets, these energies do not change frequently. So you can say the outer planets are more so like the vibe in the background of everything that's going on with the inner planets. So from the sun all the way to Saturn, you could say those are the daily happenings. But when it comes to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they don't change as often. Again, Pluto changes signs maybe once every 30 years. Then Uranus changes sign once every 5 years or 7 years. So these energies don't change on a daily basis. Versus if we're thinking about the sun or we're thinking about the moon, the sun changes degree every day and the moon changes degree every 2 hours, right? So you compare a degree change every 2 hours to every 5 years, you can tell the difference. So once you have identified essentially what outer planet you identify with, you can see your place in the future. Let me give you a further example. When it comes to Uranus, Uranus is like the inventor of the zodiac. So if you are Uranian minded, this makes you like an astrologer, right? This makes you the inventor. This makes you able to understand the occult language and decode the occult language, right? The Uranian is all about technology. It's all about cyberspace. So if you are a person who is integrated into cyberspace, you are integrated into, the social media world, building an online community. If you are a person who is naturally geared towards that direction, then you know where you fit. It's for you to build up a online or a cybernetic or a cyber internet community because that is the power of Uranus, being the ruler of the cyber world. Now, if we are talking about Neptune, Neptune is the alchemist or the chemist, but more so alchemy than chemistry. Chemistry can fall more so under the category of Mercury. So we're talking about Neptune is more so about alchemy, turning lead to gold. However, we can take that a step further because Neptune also represents music and fantasy and being able to take our minds into the outer layers or the outer limits of reality or the outer limits of the matrix. And this is what we call the abyss. So Neptune is essentially the artist. So all of the artists are Neptunians, right? So music, art, anybody who is dealing with the shadow magic or the shadow images of things, being able to manipulate imagery and illusionary arts, these are Neptunians. The actors, the actress, people in Hollywood, so on and so forth. All this is within the realm of Neptune, within the realm of illusionary magic, right? Illusionism, right? Next, we have Pluto, right? We understand Pluto to be the necromancer, the sorcerer, the underground keeper, or the keeper of the secrets, or in today's terminology, the crypt keeper, right? So Pluto is a crypt keeper. So all the people that's into cryptocurrency, all the people that's into digital currency, all the people that's into NFTs and all this advanced technology and currency that we're dealing with, these people are more so the Plutonians of the zodiac. So these are the people. So for example, a plutocrat, for example, is a person who is in power because they have a lot of resources, underground resources. So essentially, a Plutonian isn't somebody elected into government because they got the popular vote. A Plutonian or a plutocrat is someone who is empowered because they have access to hidden resources that other people do not have access to. So essentially, whoever has access to the hidden resources becomes the plutocrat. So these are the three outer planets. So we must identify where we fall into these situations. Are you the medic or the alchemist or the artist? Then you will fall under the degree of Neptune. Are you the inventor, the cybernetic lord, or the cybernetic goddess? Women with the OnlyFans, men being able to put themselves on camera and manipulate the internet, manipulate the algorithm. So let me just make that easier, right? If you are skilled at manipulating the algorithm, you are a Uranian. If you are skilled at manipulating the emotions of the masses, you are an artist. And if you are good at seeking and discovering hidden resources, you are a Plutonian, right? So all of us are geared towards one or the other, or we may have a combination of all these things mentioned. Okay? Once you have identified what you resonate with naturally, not what you're forcing yourself to be, but what you resonate with naturally, then you can understand moving forward. Moving forward, we have to utilize these hidden talents. So, for example, 2020 and beyond forces us to have to utilize our hidden talents. It is no longer an option. We no longer have an excuse to project our, you can say, the 90% of the brain that is unused, right? Remember, we only need 10% of our brain to go through day-to-day life, go through our daily transactions. All that's required is 10% of your brain, to pay our bills and make sure, the house is cool, to make sure the family is cool, to make sure, that the bills is paid, so on and so forth. That's only 10% of our brain power. So in terms of the other 90%, once all of these things are taken care of, these is the worlds or the gateways that people have trouble getting through, right? Because we're so locked down into this matrix. We're so integrated into this matrix. We're so plugged into the matrix. When it comes time to pull the plug out, we really have a hard time, getting acclimated to the environment where basically when you don't have responsibilities. So let me give you another example. When it comes to spirituality, we understand that we have physical responsibilities, then we have spiritual responsibilities, and this is why I speak about rank, spiritual rank. We all have spiritual rank. We are all ranked. Just like there's ranks of demons and there's ranks of angels, humans are ranked. And I'm not speaking about, based on what resources you have, or, how popular you are. Once you are standing face to face and standing eye to eye with a person, you can tell what your rank is, right? Again, it's not about the illusions that are cast, it's about the reality, it's about the actual work that you are putting in. And this is the definition of shadow work, because we activate our shadow work to increase our rank. So let me explain to you why that is, because I'm probably the only person that speaks about spiritual rank anyway. So let me explain to you, what further analysis of what I mean when I say these things. When I speak about spiritual rank, we all have came into the world with predestined tools. For example, we are the height we are for a reason. We are the weight we are for a reason. We are the body type we are for a reason. Everything, our heritage, everything that we are the manifestation of many things. You can say we are the manifestation of many star constellations, depending on how you want to break it down. So we are suited to do certain tasks. For example, if you are a shorter person, you tend to be more flexible and more versatile. If you are a taller person, you tend to be, again, we don't necessarily have to go into the specifics of what it means to be, big or tall or so on. Basically, we know that there are disadvantages and advantages. Regardless of whatever your body type is, however your mind works, you have advantages and you have disadvantages to whatever lifestyle you choose to live and however your body type is made up. So going beyond the diet, the obvious things, obviously, the body type and our health, depends on our diet and, our spiritual foods and our mental foods for, so on and so forth. But beyond all that, Again, we are naturally geared towards certain planetary rays. So you must identify the planetary ray that you are most identified with naturally, meaning it's not a thought process, it is an intuitive process. For example, you know what you like because you had to see it, you had to observe it, you had to interact with it. Whatever it is that you like, whatever it is that you love, it is after interaction and observation and being able to manipulate that thing or that person, so on and so forth, depending on how you organize your energy. So we all are geared naturally to a certain planetary ray, or our pull to a certain planetary ray is stronger than the other planetary rays. So once you identify what planet has the strongest planetary influence on you, then you can identify and integrate with this planetary frequency because we all are going to need these people. All of these people are necessary. We need inventors. We need the cybernetic lords, the cybernetic gods, the cybernetic goddesses. We need the medics. We need the artists. We need the alchemists. We need the plutocrats. We need the ones who can seek out the hidden resources, who has the third eye open. We need all. It is more so which of these characters are you. Because this is the thing. When it comes to survival, when it comes to our day-to-day life, we have the inner planets to deal with that, from the sun all the way to Saturn, because the sun represents our soul force, and Saturn represents our career. Whatever we decide to do long term, and whatever legacy we decide to leave on this earth, right? So essentially, from the sun all the way to Saturn, the seven planets, or the seven inner planets, or the seven chakras, that is essentially all we need, right? In turn, from life to death, really all you need to do is go through from the sun to Saturn. So whenever you are dealing with the outer planets, again, we are dealing with energies that change infrequently. Remember, the inner planets change frequently, but the outer planets change infrequently. So the more we study the infrequent changes, the more we can understand what's going on around us. Because again, if we're essentially, let's just say, watching the moon, for all the moon watchers out there, we understand the moon is changing every single day, every single hour, every 2 hours at least, right? The moon changes a degree every 2 hours. So trying to keep up with the phases of the moon, is not necessarily the easiest thing unless you have integrated yourself into the motions of the moon, right? Unless you are naturally in tune with the moon, it's kind of hard to manually keep up with all the fluctuations of the moon. With all the border courses, whenever the moon changes, zodiac, so on and so forth. Like, unless you're naturally integrated, if you have to manually integrate yourself, it may not be easy. However, and again, this is where, when most people approach astrology, with the moon and, witches and witchcraft, again, that's all about the moon, right? We're going a step further. Again, the infrequent changes, meaning these are energies that's just always in the atmosphere, irregardless of what's going on, right? So the more we understand the energies that's just in the atmosphere, irregardless of what the changes that's going on with the inner planets, the outer planets essentially give us the feel or the vibe, right? So whenever we talk about vibes, these are not coming from the inner planets, these are coming from the outer planets because again, these planets or these energies do not change frequently. So again, if we're talking about Uranus changes signs every 5 years. So that's energy, or that's a energy vibe or a energy frequency that we will be feeling for the next 5 years. If we talk about Pluto changing sign every 30 years, that's why they say Pluto's influence is generational. So that means Pluto affects an entire generation. So for the next 30 years, an entire generation will have their sign in whatever Pluto is in. So Pluto is currently in Capricorn or Sagittarius, East. So Vedic astrology, Pluto is in Sagittarius, and Western astrology, Pluto is in Capricorn. So anybody, all the people that's been born at this time will have their Pluto in Capricorn, right? And Pluto will go into the next sign in 30 years or however much time is left in that 30-year cycle. I'm not sure about how much time is left, but essentially we got a whole 30 years before Pluto changes sign. And Neptune, you may have a 15 years, so you got like 7 years, 15 years, 30 years. Again, I'm not sure the exact motions, but I'm very approximate, not accurate, but approximate. So if we understand the vibes, if we understand the feel, if we understand the energies that are not changing, the more we decode these energies that we have to deal with on a daily basis, that we will have to deal with for years to come, not days to come, not weeks to come, because we understand when it comes to the media, when it comes to the news, when it comes to what's going on in the world, again, we have changes on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And again, unless you're somebody who's naturally in tune with all these things, it may be hard to keep up with all these changes. However, again, with the outer planets, these changes are very easy to keep up with because they're not changing every day or every hour or every week or every month, right? So once you have essentially decoded what it means, let's just say Pluto and Capricorn. Once you have identified what it means for Pluto to be in Capricorn, you will be able to see this energy reflected in your reality because this is the actual dynamics that is occurring in real time. So once you have decoded what it means for Pluto to be in Capricorn and you can see it, not necessarily in your daily acts or anybody else's daily acts, but more so the outer influence, or you can say the influence on our psyche. It is more of a psychic influence than a physical influence. Because remember, the seven inner planets have a physical influence on us, right? For example, Saturn also represents aging and old age. So the reason why we age is because of the planetary ray of Saturn. Saturn makes us age, right? That is Saturn's influence, right? So we have the inner planets, the seven inner planets. They have physical effects on us, on the physical body, and on our mind. When it comes to the outer planets, it's more so just affecting our psyche or our unconscious mind. So when it comes to the outer planets, it more so affects our unconscious mind or our psyche, and that's why it's more spiritual. It's more about vibes. It's more about feel. It's not really about physical things moving and shifting, right? So this is why most of the time when astrology is taught, we're taught to go from the sun, to start at the sun and end up in Pluto. So essentially your sun sign, your moon sign, your Mercury sign, Venus, so on and so forth, all the way till you reach Pluto. If you ask me, I say start at Pluto and end at the sun, because if you understand your outer planets first versus understanding your inner planets that's always changing, and I'm not speaking about your natal chart, it's more so the progress chart, because your natal chart does not change, but your progress chart is changing. It doesn't change as fast as the transits or the real time motions. It doesn't move as fast as the real time motions, but there are changes. So essentially, daily changes in the real world are like monthly changes in your progress chart, or your, you can say, I don't want to say mental, basically our spiritual growth. We track our spiritual growth through our progress chart. So again, for those who may not understand what I'm saying, we have the natal chart, we have our progress chart, which is basically your natal chart in real time. So your natal chart in real time is called your progress chart. Your natal chart at the time of your birth is your natal chart. Then we have the transits. The transits is the real planetary motions and how they are affecting your natal chart or your progress chart. So that's essentially the science of transits, because they activate triggers. Remember, all of our energy is not activated at the same time. It has to be triggered. Our energy has to be triggered. Basically, secret energies or dormant energies within us have to be triggered. And that's essentially the purpose of the planetary cycles, to trigger certain events in our lives, right? So, for example, sorry about that. You only got 10%. So I'm just gonna wrap everything up. Again, I didn't plan on doing this video. I just felt the need to speak about these things right now to help everybody understand what's going on, so they are not distracted by the daily happenings and more so focus on the outer happenings or what's really going on in the bigger picture. Don't focus on the little picture. Don't focus on what's going on with America and the presidents, what's going on overseas. Again, all that is, it will keep you locked into that world. It will keep you locked into the matrix. But the goal is to see where you fit outside of the matrix. Because again, we see everything that's going on. Everything is going to get more strict, more restrictions, more laws, more rules, more regulations. So we have to depend on our independence. We have to depend on our ability to be self-sufficient. We have to depend on our ability to access the internet and utilize the internet, utilize the cyber world to attract resources, utilize our underground resources or the hidden resources, and utilize our alchemy. Right? These are the tools we have to propel ourselves or project ourselves forward into the future without being left behind, because again, we're so focused on the inner planets and not focused enough on the outer planets. So all great minds are focused essentially on the outer planets because they're trying to solve a bigger problem, Again, if we look at something like Amazon and Jeff Bezos, regardless of how we feel about him, he solved a problem, and that's why he is in the position he is in, because he solved a problem, which is people want items delivered directly to their door. People ain't just trying to go to the store all the time to pick up things, right? So he solved a problem that the world has. So whenever we are solving problems that the world has, we will be able to be positioned in a seat that is greater than the seat we currently sit in. As long as we are solving problems, there are going to always be people throwing money at you. So for all the people that need the money, as long as you are solving problems of any sort, whether it's astrological, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's spiritual, whenever you are solving problems, there's always somebody willing to pay you, because there's always somebody who has a problem. Somebody going to need their computer fixed. Somebody's going to need, to learn how to do things they don't know how to do. Everybody has a problem that they will willingly pay for to get solved. Everybody has problems they will willingly pay for it, even if they're struggling, even if they don't really have the money. If they have a problem that needs to be solved, they're going to put that money down and make it happen, or they're going to have to learn it themselves from somebody who already learned it. So essentially, it's the same dynamic. Either you have to learn from somebody who knows it already, or you have to invest in it, right? So essentially, this is the whole purpose of it. Understand your outer planets. Understand that the planetary rays influence all of us differently based on our natal chart and our progress chart, but it influences us collectively through the transits. But how the transits affect you is based upon your natal chart, because the transits are just triggers or activators of dormant energies. Because again, our whole personality, the whole dynamics of our existence does not show at the same time. It has to show through cycles. That's why we change day to day, week for week, month to month, year to year, because certain cycles activate certain energies. So that's why we feel different than what we felt last year, and we will feel different next year. Not because of what actually happens in our lives, it's based on the planetary energies and the planetary cycles, right? So this is essentially what changes. It is the outer planets that change the vibe and the energy and all these things. It's not really the inner planets, because the inner planets are changing on a daily basis. You can actually miss the changes if you're not paying attention to it. You may actually miss it, but you can't really miss the outer planets change, because they're constantly in the background. So the more you understand the energies that are constantly in the background, the more you will understand the changes that occur on a daily basis. Essentially, they are the theme. Right? Hold on, give me 1 second. As long as you understand the theme, as long as you understand the theme, you can understand the play. As long as you understand the theme on the stage, you can understand the play. But if you don't understand the theme, you're not going to understand the play. So you have most people trying to understand the play, and they're not understanding the theme, because they're all about the inner planets. They're all about what's going on with the sun, what's going on with the moon, what's going on here, what's going on there. But rarely, if ever, do you hear about people talking about the inner planets or the outer planets exclusively. Again, we push them to the side, or we push them to the background, because this is good, just the Western mind. But once we combine the Western mind with the Eastern mind and start at Pluto and end at the Sun, your whole perspective of astrology changes, because you can see yourself from your true essence. We are not our sun sign more as we are our Pluto sign. So you would never hear nobody else say that, because again, your Pluto is your generational effect. Pluto affects an entire generation. So if anything, we are more so our Pluto signs, because that affects your genetics. Pluto affects our genetics. The sun more so affects our personal creativity and our goals and our aspirations. But if we're talking about who we are on a genetic level, Pluto will tell you those answers. You really can't get that from the sun, right? So Pluto is actually more important than the sun. The deeper we get into astrology, when you're a beginner, you focus on the sun, because it's more easier to comprehend that, because of based off of astronomy and how we think. But the deeper you go, you realize that Pluto is the answer, and it's really not about the sun sign. If you truly understand your Pluto sign, it will give you more insight than your sun sign will give you. Once you understand the aspects of Pluto, so it's not just the sign of Pluto, the aspects of Pluto, were basically its relationship with other planets, whether positive or negative, and you can paint the picture of what's really going on with your Pluto and the other two outer planets if you so choose. So with that, I bear it peace. Take this information, utilize it properly and perfectly to the best of your ability. 93.